one thing I will say about these videos, they are very low in production value, and I do not aspire to have amazing, like, videos that have music intros at this point and stuff like that, that are really, like, cut so that you don't get a bunch of dead space and stuff. This is very stream of consciousness. This is me sitting in my car. I drive 45 minutes to an hour each way to and from work every fucking day. So this is basically my opportunity to just kind of do a brain dump, and these are things that wouldn't necessarily make their way into the journal, which is hopefully going to turn into a book that I'm writing right now about fitness and exercise, running, diet, clean living, stuff like that. So what I'm doing right now is I'm focusing on those how to be a grown-up topics, and really trying to make sure that I put some good stuff down so that I can look back on it later, possibly even just turn it into different chapters and sub-chapters and stuff within a book on how to be a grown-up. So if anyone happens upon these videos by accident, I hope that this is one that you happen upon, and that there's a realization that this is not a professional vlog. This is not a professional YouTube channel or anything like that. I have no desire whatsoever to generate any revenue out of it. Revenue. So anyway, what I wanted to talk about, funny as it is professional emails and correspondence. One thing that bugs the shit out of me as a hiring manager and as someone who's responsible for making hiring decisions, coordinating, faculty and stuff like that at the school I work at, is unprofessional email addresses. And you probably have friends, or maybe you are one of those unfortunate ones that has Kitty Lover 562 or Red Sox Fan 319. The sport ones, I get that. That's fine. The funny thing is, what you have to consider is the people who have those email addresses and you're giving that email to them as a presentation of yourself, what their interpretation is. So I see somebody who sends me an email that says, Pats fan 652. Okay, Pats fan. So clearly you like football. I have no problem with that. I don't aspire to watch every football game for the teams that I follow. In fact, this is a big shocker, I don't follow football. I don't watch football. I watch the Super Bowl, I watch playoffs here and there. Does that make me a hypocrite? Because, I'm commenting on people who like football, not liking it myself? No, I don't not like football. I just have a lot of shit to do, and I can't afford to take the number of hours that it takes to sit and watch a fucking football game, let alone engage in drinking and snacking and just sitting around and doing nothing, because I'm trying to make some pretty fundamental changes right now and lose some weight. And so far, I'm doing pretty good, so I'm not going to sacrifice that by just sitting around and doing nothing. So, my perception of the person who decides that their football team is so important that they have to use it as their email address is that person places football as a pretty high priority. Looking at that through my frame of reference, I'm thinking, is that really something that I, as an employer, am looking for in an employee? Do I stereotype based on whether somebody's a football fan? Fuck no, that's ridiculous. You can't do that. But at the same time, I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing to think in terms of what other people prioritize, and not to stereotype and maybe to pigeonhole a little bit. And I'm kind of backpedaling here because I don't want it to sound as ridiculous and restrictive as I think it should be when it comes to sports teams' names. That's not really the point of this. The point is, like, those cutesy email addresses that are like, teeny little me at blah blah blah.com, or I can't even think of any good ones right now, but when you know them, you fucking know them. You see them and you're like, that's a stupid email address and it's not professional, and I don't even want to email you back at that email address. You send me a resume for a job, you've got to be joking me. Professional, not so much. But it's more the image that conveys when I get one of those emails. I'm just like, oh, fuck, it's one of those people. So if you have one of those email addresses, that's fine. That's not a problem. But create another persona. That's where we're going with this whole thing. See, glad you waited till the end. Create another persona that has a professional outward appearance. I don't care if you like drinking beer and partying and having a good time, but don't call your email address fratgirl569 or fratgirlgroupie or something like that, because that, for a prospective employer, sends a definite message. Instead, you have an email address that's your name or your first initial last name and then a combination of numbers, because everybody's got the same first name and last name. There are billions of people on this earth. Chances are somebody else has your name, and they've already established an email address. And the other thing, and this might sound a little bit funny, but don't put your age, your year of birth, in your email address, because that, to me, can also be an indicator. And it's not an indicator for me, but for some people, they might look at that and go, oh, that person was born in 1990. Jesus Christ, they're practically a kid. I have to stop myself and really consider how old I am, because I don't feel that old. I don't feel like I'm old. And at the same time, I have to consider that 1990 means that somebody is now 26 years old. That's not a child. That's an adult. That's an employable adult who would conceivably have gone through grad school, or at least some grad school, gotten a bachelor's degree, maybe a master's degree. They've started a career. That person was born in 1990. Big reveal, was born in 1977. So at the time that person was born, I was already 13 years old. I don't consider 1990 to be like forever away. So when I consider that somebody was born in 1990, I'm like, oh yeah, that's not that far in the past. That's not that long ago. Holy shit, it really is. So don't put your year of birth in your email address. It's just asking for trouble, because you don't know how people are going to take that. So bottom line, correspond professionally. Have a professional email address. Take some time to do a resume. We'll talk about that later, but send out emails that look good, and actually spell and grammar check the emails. Because if you can't spell, then you just come across as a bumpkin, as a fucking idiot that doesn't have time to actually even learn how to spell properly. And watch your conjunctions, because Jesus Christ, apostrophes have a specific place they need to go. They're not like a painter's palette where you can just kind of pick and choose. They're very structured. Grammar is a very specific thing, you might be surprised to know. And the English language is fraught with ridiculous pieces of grammar that don't necessarily make sense, but if you're reading them, that's the way you write. So spend some time, be a grown-up.